That in the last video we have the backend implementation of the update and additional endpoint for getting the employee. So we will use this now. First, let's go to the API and define the function that will talk to our backend. That is the endpoint for the employee, update employee. So let's name this update employee. This will have the parameter of ID and employee data. Okay, so inside this we'll return axios dot put, that is the update. First we need the base URL, plus we need a employee, that is the endpoint. So employee, then we need this ID. Okay, so it will be included in the request. So let's have slash, then followed by the ID, plus ID, then we need to pass the employee data, that is the REST request body. So that is all that we need to do here. And we need to, the next thing we need to also have for the endpoint that we have defined for get employee. So we need to name this get employee by ID. So we pass the ID. So it is a get request, or return axios dot get. Okay, so the only difference is this line, so let's just copy it and add it here. Okay, because that is the only difference. Let's now go to the update employee component. We'll create the update employee component. Okay, so first, before going to this, let's go to the employee list and define the button that will take us to the update, that is the edit button. Remember, you can see here we have no button, so let's go to, you will define it within this row. Okay, so let's have another table data td. So inside this we'll have a button, that is the edit button name. So, and we will have edit on it like this. So now let's save and check the view, what is returned. So you see we have the edit. So now let's define a function, so that when we click on, it will take us to the update employee component function, and we name this edit employee. So this will only, we will use this to navigate to the component. Okay, so we already have the navigate. So here we will pass the URL. So in this case, the backtick operator. So, and here is the backtick operators. Okay, so let's have this employee, okay, followed by, we need this $, and we pass the ID. So let's have the ID here. Okay, that is fine. And let's go to the button now. When we click on this button, we will need to get the ID. So let's define the onClick here. OnClick. So on our function, edit employee. So we will get the employee ID. So let's use the employee dot ID. Okay, that is all that we need to do here. So the next thing, we'll create the component called update employee. So let's save these changes and create this component. So we'll name this update employee. Okay, so .js. Okay, so the update employee is similar to the add employee. So let's copy this and we will change the implementation. So let's start by changing the name of the component. We call this update employee, and for this also update employee. So let's remove this update employee. Okay, before going further, let's go to the app.js, import the update employee. So we need to change this to update employee. So remember, inside the employee list, we navigate to the update employee. So let's go to the employee list. So here it is. So we need to provide this ID to the URL with the help of the React router. So let's go to the app.js. We just need to have employee, then followed by slash, then ID. So this is how we provide this ID to the component, and we will access the ID using the use param. Okay, so let's go to the update employee that we just defined. Okay, so here we will not use this ditch path because we will not dispatch any action. We just need to update the data, and the Redux will get the updated data using the get that we initially defined without any altering the process for the Redux. So we don't need new action. We're just going to access the API directly from here. Okay, so what we need here, we need a use param first. Let's import use param, which we will use to access the ID in the URL. Okay, and we also need to import the use effect. Okay, so let's import the use effect. Import use effect. Okay, so that is what we need here, and the next thing that we will going to do, we will have to, so let's copy this here and we use the use param to get the ID. Okay, equal to use param. So by this we will get the ID. Okay, and we need to provide this ID here, having a new data. So ID then ID, that is the ID that we have here. Then we have to provide a comma like this. Okay, so the next thing we will do is define the use effect. Okay, so let's have the use effect, the logic here. So we need to import the API. So API. Okay, so the first thing we need to use the endpoint that we defined for getting the employee by ID. So let's have API dot get employee by ID, and then we use state dot ID. Okay, with this ID that we navigate, okay, from our map in the list employee. So after getting this, we use the, so that is the data that is returned. We're going to use the data here. So let, okay, so that is where we will use the data to update our state with the new data before saving the data in the database. Okay, so let's have let employee equal to the data that we get, that is race dot data. So, and we will use this employee to set the data. Okay, so we need to set state. Okay, so let's copy what we already have here, and then update the data step by step. Here we have to use the state dot ID, and for the first name we access the employee dot first name. Then the same thing, we'll repeat the process here. So that is all that we do here. We get the employee by the ID from our backend, and then set the state. Now what we're going to do is we need to send this to the new updated data. We need to send it to the database. So we will use the data get by the get employee by ID to populate our input field with the all data of the employee. Then we decide to change the data so that we can update with what we want. So this is just to populate our input field. So, and we will go to the input field. Now we have a value, and the value will be state for the first name, state dot first name, and for the last name, let's add the value state dot last name, and for the email, let's have here it's value. So we'll have state dot email. Okay, so and once we get these data, we need to change how we are no longer using the dispatch. We need to directly use the API dot update employee. So we first pass the ID and then followed by the current state. Okay, so that is how we work with this. And let's save the changes, and let's remove this. So now we will test the application. So when we go to the browser, you can see we have edit. When we have this edit, you can see it populate our data, Aliyu, Sahabu, Adam. Okay, so now let me change this to Ali. Okay, like Ali, then try to submit. Okay, you see the it submitted and the name changed. And let me give example here. When we try to change this Adam, you see it populate our data. So it populated our data. That is because we use this endpoint for the get employee by ID, and we set the state here, get employee by ID, set the state and have the values on the field. That is why we have our data populated in the input field, and we use the update employee to change the data and submit. That is the data that is sent, we submit it. Okay, so let's go back to the browser, try to change this Adam to Aliyu and submit. You see it works successfully, and the next thing we will work on is delete. See you in the next video.